Welcome to the Ignited Recovery Podcast, a new way forward for anyone looking for answers but feeling left out. If you've been searching for empowerment, triumph, and purpose, you've found them right here. You won't hear the same solutions, and you're not going to have any excuses to fall back on, because Ignited Recovery allows heroes to rise and become their best selves. I'm Dr. Adi Jaffe, and I can't wait to be your guide on this journey. Are you ready to become an ignited hero?
You know, so many people struggle so much when it comes to changing their habits, and this happens especially around drinking or drug use, porn, sex, food, etc. And we've helped so many hundreds and thousands of people at Ignited do exactly that. What I decided to do at the beginning of this year to make it easier for everybody is to just give you some free help. So we've done something incredible, and we've opened up our Ignited Hero program and our weekly groups completely free for a month to anybody listening right now. But you got to act on it, and you got to follow the link here below in order to be able to use this help for yourself or a loved one right now for free. It's only for you guys, so don't forget, click the link and you get everything. You get 15 groups a week. You get over 15 hours of work with me individually helping you. This is like that masterclass. It doesn't just teach you how to cook, but teaches you how to live a better life. Come join us. Get the help you need. Make your life what you want it to be. This is for spot number 2. Hey everybody, it's a brand new year, and we've been hearing from you. I've been hearing from you that some of you are struggling. You've made commitments to yourself. Maybe it's around dry January. Maybe it's around changing your food or drug habits or sex, porn, relationship issues. And I've heard you. I know you want this. I know you want to make it better. And so I want to make it easier for you to get what you need. And so what I've done is I'm giving everybody who's listening to this right now a 30-day trial, completely free, 100% free, not only to our incredible hero program that we just reshot and created an incredible online platform for, but also all of our weekly groups. We have 15 of these a week. I lead one of them myself every single week. So every day you can get the help you need. So you don't have to go at this alone. You can find a community. You can have the support to get yourself where you want to go. Come join us, $0. You've got nothing to lose and your whole life to gain. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Ignited Recovery Secrets Podcast. I'm Adi Jaffe, and I'm here to talk about the elephant in the room sometimes. And that's the fact that I'm not a huge fan of a lot of AA's practices. I was sober in AA for 3 years, ended up leaving, doing the AA experiment, as people call it, which is kind of going back to normal everyday life. And it's going well. I'm 15 years into the experiment. Life's not perfect, but it's pretty damn good. And it made me realize just how much of what I was indoctrinated into in AA I just didn't like. And some of the things are really easy for people to understand, like the religious aspect of it. It's Christian. People can say anything they want about AA being a spiritual program, not a religious program. But if that's true, then stop saying the Lord's Prayer, right? And stop only using Bible verses from the New Testament. Like everything that we did, all the prayers were all Christian in base. And not only because I'm Jewish, but also because I just don't want to pray to God. That made me incredibly uncomfortable. And there was really no way of getting out of it because you stand in circles and then you feel like a dick if you don't do what they want you to do. So religion being tied with getting help is not something I'm a big fan of. Powerlessness is something I'm not at all a fan of. Like, it's insane to me. To this day, as I'm talking about this, I get aggravated about this fact. The people in AA who are talking about being powerless are exerting power, right? They are going to meetings. They are doing things that show that they have control and power over their drinking. And so then people will play little games with me, but the first step is to admit you're powerless. I had the hardest time with that, and guess what? Over the last 15 years, I've proved to myself I'm not at all powerless. So I hate the powerlessness concept, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. The requirement to abstain, a lot of people tell me this all the time, but well, you don't have to quit to be an AA, but that's bullshit. That's, again, like removing your accountability based on what it is that you say in your text. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. Well, what about everybody who just wants to control it better or do a better job. AA is not a good fit for them. And I think it should stay not a good fit for them. And I'm going to talk about some of the options that I think are better. And then also relying only on people's past experience to guide every new person that shows up is an incredibly dangerous thing. And we'll talk about some examples as to why. But people don't have training. And so every single person within AA is relying on what worked for them, which is really, really nice. But surprise, surprise for everybody listening and paying attention right now, we're not all the same. So what worked for you might not work for me. And to say, well, just go look for another sponsor is nice, but we're dealing with people's lives. So it'd be really, really nice if we actually gave some training to the people who are supposed to be guiding other people's paths. And last but not least, and this is AA's prerogative, they get to do whatever they want with this, but the content hasn't been updated in 9 years. Like, what's the deal with drinkers who are putting whiskey in their milk or constantly talking to the wives as if the only members of AA are white older men who need their wives to sort of, hide the whiskey? I think all of these things, they need to be accounted for. And the reason they need to be accounted for is not because AA shouldn't exist. I think AA should exist, absolutely, but it should only exist for the people who want to pursue it, for the people for whom all the things that I just mentioned make sense and they want to engage in them. Here's the problem that I have with it. AA has become the de facto treatment industry standard. So rough estimates between 75 and 85, maybe a little even upwards of 85% of treatment relies primarily on AA. Now, I don't know what you would call that other than a monopoly over the industry. And in any other world, right, in business or any other aspect of society, we have problems when there's only one approach that everybody leans on. But AA is free, and it's been around for so long that it's infiltrated the entire industry, so everybody just takes it as the standard. And I get it. I used to run a treatment center. It's really, really nice to have a free option. You don't have to pay. You just bus people to the meetings, and they get help. I'm putting help in quotation marks because for some people it helps and some people it doesn't help them at all. But you get to say that you did what you're supposed to do, and it's the standard, so you're doing a standard of care. And it's not only true for people who go to rehab, sober livings, etc. It's also true for anybody in the criminal justice system. That's how I got involved in AA, right? The lawyer and then my judge directed me to go to AA. I had a card that I'd have to get signed at meetings over and over and over. And it becomes the standard. Now, people from the criminal justice system who don't want to be in AA, being referred to AA over and over, actually destroys both. It destroys the lives of the people who are getting sent there and don't want that help, so they don't benefit from it at all. And it actually also destroys the AA culture because AA only really works for the people who want to engage in it. And so it destroys all of them together. And as we know, AA doesn't work for the people who don't ascribe to its practices. So I think we just need to stop it. But we keep sending people over there because it's free and it's just a thing that we've been doing. It's a little bit like if you have an old pair of sweats at home, and you've been wearing them to bed for years and they're kind of stained, they have holes in them. But they're just the sweats you wear to bed, so you just keep doing it. Or, I don't know, like maybe you've been watching some show for years. It's just a show that you've been kind of, you and your wife, you and your boyfriend, you and your friends just put on, you kind of veg out to it. And it's sort of sucked over the last few years, but you kind of say, well, this is the thing. This is the habit. This is what we do. We just send people to AA. Just, you come in, you have a drug problem, go to AA. Here's your card. We need to update it. Because in the addiction industry, in the addiction world, the issue is not just sitting there getting bored in front of a TV show or wearing, sweats that have a bunch of stains to bed and you, your wife, your husband don't really care about it. It's lives. This has to do with actual lives. And the only way that I measure whether things have worked is, do people get better and are we taking care of the problem? And by any way you measure it, the addiction industry has been failing. 2020 was a shit show and more people died of overdoses than we've ever recorded before. And we've been recording it for decades. And you can blame it on COVID if you want, because COVID definitely made it worse. But we've had doubling, tripling, and quadrupling of overdoses over the last 30 years consistently. This hasn't gone away. The problem has consistently gotten worse. And we've had this system in place for almost 100 years. So you know what? It's had its shot. It's had its shot and it's just not working. And so if you've been trying to rely on a single solution for almost 100 years, and you see in every way that you track there are no less people being addicted to substances. And then the people who go to get help are not getting any better year over year. And one of the best ways to measure whether it's getting better is how many people are dying from this problem, and it actually gets worse over and over and over. I'd call it a failure. And if you care about the lives of these people, then it's just time to replace the standard of care. I'm not saying it has to go away forever. Anybody who's aligned with AA principles, go for it. Have a freaking blast. But we don't assign people to church for treatment. We don't assign people to temple or, Buddhism or a mosque. We don't assign people to yoga for a standard of care. Why? Because each one of those things works for the people for whom it works for, but it hasn't been shown to be incredibly effective. And the exact same thing can be said for AA. So, don't get rid of AA, but replace it as a standard of care. We have to do this if we're going to stop pretending that we care about the people who struggle with addiction. And with somewhere between 25 to 30 million people really meeting addiction criteria and another 30 or 40 million people struggling with addiction in the US alone, I hope we care. Because if there are 65 or 70 million people struggling with this problem in this country, then every family, every relationship, everybody has been affected by this at some point. So it's time to do better. I don't even see how there's a question in it. And here's some of my recommendations as we're going to go and set about this work. Religion has no place in healthcare and mental health. Religion can have a place in individual people's lives, but give them a choice in regards to that practice, right? Let them choose what religion they want to assign. The moment that you pair the de facto standard of care with a specific religion, you alienate everybody who is not aligned with that. You cannot like it and you can pretend and put other words on it. Well, it's not religious, it's spiritual. But if it were really spiritual, you would probably have a whole wide variety of sort of prayers in there or give people a choice in terms of what they pray to, but you don't. You just don't. Now, instead of disempowering people, I really urge our next de facto solution to empower them. Empower them with choice by allowing them to select what aspects of treatment they want and which they don't, like we do in cancer and diabetes and every other aspect of healthcare. And also empower them with the language that we use. We've talked about this before, and I will talk about this till the day I'm done doing this work. Calling people by their problem is disempowering by itself. Following that up with letting them know that they have no power is like a recipe for disaster, which we're seeing every single year. The disaster is here. More and more people are dying all the time from this, and we keep pushing them down the same tunnel, expecting them to come out the other side better, even though they haven't. They haven't for a century. Also, if people aren't ready for abstinence, we should absolutely still offer them help and assistance. This is the silliest concept that I even have to repeat to me, in my opinion, but in depression, we don't tell people that they only get to get help for depression if they stop being depressed. We don't tell people who go for physical therapy that unless they can really walk on their own and stop using crutches, we won't give them therapeutic assistance. We don't tell people with cancer that unless they come in with no cancer, then we can't help them. It sounds asinine, I know, when I talk about it in the context of another form of help, but just think about it. That's what we do to people with addiction all the time. Hey, you drank, so I can't help you. Well, what do you mean? I literally came to you for drinking. Yeah, but I don't really deal with people while they're under the influence. Okay, well, if I'm not looking to quit, can I come to you? Well, no, I really need you to commit to quitting. Well, I don't know how to do that yet. Well, you just figure that out, get 30 days clean, and then you can come see me. I think we have to get over ourselves. Of course, it feels less safe to help people who are not ready for the ultimate goal that you would like for them to choose. But guess what? That's what helping is. If you work in an ER, you don't only accept people who are going to make it. That's sort of part of the job of working in an ER. We have to get over ourselves when it comes to this. And then I really urge us to start giving official training to everybody who is going to take part in helping. And when I'm talking about official training, I've been part of some training programs, and some of them are great, some of them are not. We need to greatly level up our standard of care. We need to introduce people to a whole slew of different approaches and not push them down a specific path and pretend that path will be enough. Because I've heard over and over and over crazy stories from people who went into the program, went into meetings, and were told by their sponsor that because they're on antidepressants, they're not sober, or because they have to take mood stabilizers, not sober, or if they're on opiate replacement medication, like medication-assisted treatment on Suboxone or methadone or anything like that, that they're not sober, and sometimes pushing them to stop. First of all, these people are not doctors, they're not physicians, and have no right to do that anyway. Secondly, that's dangerous. And if you don't understand that that's dangerous, then you need to not have the authority to help other people. And I think that's something that we need to explain to everybody in the industry. It's great that some of these things worked for you, but we're all different people. And just because something worked for you doesn't mean that it'll work for somebody else. And actually, some of the techniques, tactics, and strategies that might have worked for you could be harmful for somebody else. And if you're going to be a helper, you need to understand what to do in those situations, and you need to understand how to at least better be able to tell the difference. And lastly, I don't think this is going to happen, but if AA is smart, update your literature, right? Every other book that teaches you how to do something gets updated. I mean, even the Bible got updated for hundreds of years, but it hasn't in a while. But update your literature. Just catch up with the times and get away from the chauvinistic, white male-centric approach. If you don't do it, then you're going to keep getting the same results you've been getting. I understand that AA was started by a bunch of guys in Ohio, and it was older white men, and they wrote the best that they could, and they sort of, edited it out to make it look like they were the pious group that they wanted us all to believe that they are. But it's time to adjust for the times. We have given AA and the 12-step world a chance to save addicts, and I'm putting that in quotes, right? Save addicts for over 100 years almost. Go coming on 90 years right now. And we see the results. So it's time for us to show up for the people who are struggling and show them that they have a choice, that they can empower themselves, that they have agency, they get to play a role in their own care in a way that really addresses their own individual needs. The reason I'm so passionate about this is because we're done losing 150, 180, 200,000 people a year to this bullshit. But in order to improve our outcomes, we have to get out of the way of help. We have to stop putting up barriers and start opening up doors and windows and allowing anybody who wants help to come in through whatever channel they feel is appropriate. We've been doing this work here at Ignited forever. I mean, it feels like I've been doing this forever. It's been about 12 years throughout my career. And I got to tell you, if I was diplomatic before, I'm done being diplomatic. It makes me angry that we lose this many people every year when we can do better. And so we're taking a slightly different slant here, and we're going to come hard at everything that we see as the problem. I'm going to come hard on everything that I see as standing in our way of progress. And if you or somebody that you know struggles, I urge you to demand change. Don't go and look at all the old solutions and try to figure out who can do it best. If it doesn't speak to you and it's not something that you or your loved one want to engage in, move on and look for something different. There are many options. There are many paths to success when it comes to addiction. Abstinence, non-abstinence, harm reduction, medication-assisted, cannabis replacement, meditation, cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness. I could go on and on and on when it comes to trauma resolution, etc. Find the set of tools that work for you. And if you want help from us at Ignited, we're giving away a free trial right now of everything that we do for a month. You can get a month of completely free help from us, from me, and all the other amazing coaches and all the incredible materials that we've developed. And so if you want to do that, there's a link here below to help you do that, and we'll put it up on the video right now. And let's just get on with this, right? Let's put these addictions behind it. You are not helpless. You are not hopeless. You are not stuck in this forever. You can beat this. You just need to find the right tools. I love you. Thanks for joining us. See you next week.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ignited Heroes Recovery Podcast. I really hope you found the information here useful and that we'll see you back here next week. And look, I want to make sure that this podcast is the most useful it can be for you, so please let me know by emailing info@ignited.com if there are any specific topics or questions you'd like to have addressed. As usual, if you like this episode, I would love for you to leave us a 5-star review and rating. Thanks, and see you next week.